Hello, Hola, Konnichiwa, Salaam, Ciao Namaste. Peace to all. This is Soulology, the science of the soul. And what we're going to talk about for today is simply about the fact of why we haven't evolved yet. And we're going to start, it's getting serious. We're going to start right now with simply this. Look at your movies. Look at your TV shows. Look at your games. Look at your books. Mystery books, adventure books, action books, and whatnot. And look at what they have and why you haven't evolved. For example, let's give a good example for things like when we talk about superheroes. When we talk about superheroes, we believe they look like us. And you might think, okay, what does that have to do with me? Absolutely nothing. When we talk about the cosmos and stuff of that nature, we see it through a point of view that there is always evil and there's always good. When we see different things in books, we always see a person who's up to no good. There's always a reasoning behind it, like, someone who's good or evil, or a love story or whatnot. Several things. When you look at your TV shows, your games, your movies, and everything else, you can see a similarity that we still haven't fully comprehended. When we talk about, for instance, when you have movies about sci-fi, you have movies about beings from different planets who we think would act ruthless, maybe, or we might think they would act cruel in a sense because aliens are much more superior or empowered than us. And when that wouldn't be the case at all, for the simple fact of it should have happened a long time ago, first of all, and second, because many beings that think on a highly advanced scale would not care to harm a planet that is still evolving because it's still in its own primitive nature. Through these shows, games, books, and everything, we create a behavior that allows us to believe in several different parts. People who do not believe in unconditional love. We believe there has to be unconditional love with conditions. We, however, do not realize that the only reason there is unconditional love with conditions is because we've created a system that coexists around buying and getting stuff instead of caring for a person for who they are. It's understandable if a person may affect you in a sense because they may not be doing anything or care to do anything with their life, perhaps. Maybe. Or maybe it might be simply the fact that just who they are, it can be abusive in a sense. When we talk about, verbally, mentally, emotionally, or gaslighting, might not be beneficial. But behavior in unconditional love is only one example of that. Because what we do with unconditional love, in a sense, is with conditions. If you do not have the proper amount of stuff, then I cannot give you the proper amount of affection. I cannot be with you if you do not have stuff. As though life were a criteria test, a list of stuff that if it's on the checklist, then you're okay. If it's not on the checklist, then you're not okay. That is not love. That is our thought process of what we believe love should be. We actually don't know what love is and haven't seemed to understand it fully. Many masters on this planet have shown it. Many of us have stated to walk in that path, but many of us will say it's difficult or it's too much work or whatnot, not realizing it's a very simple task. But you have to be willing to be open to that. And that's the hardest thing for us in this world, to evolve love. in its unconditional, purest sense. We are unwilling to move accordingly, to love each other the way we deserve to be loved. How else do we do this with behaviors? Your behaviors and literally what you watch, the food you eat, the things that are on TV manipulates the system of you believing you need stuff. You need to eat that because someone tells you it's good, so you think it's good, and you eat it. And may not realize it could poison your body. You can be easily manipulated by simple things that are on TV, and it's been proven that you can. The NFL is a perfect example of this when you talk about the commercials that are on there. Different types of commercials, period, can manipulate you into feeling a certain way. Even with colors. For example, perfect example. This is just a short one. The color red is supposed to allow you to feel hungry. Now, many people might not think of it that way, but when you see, if you really look at certain things in the world, you talk about restaurants, different food places, a lot of them do have a bit of red. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. Some would think, oh, that's coincidental. No, that's how to manipulate and use and maneuver colors as a scheme to allow you to feel an emotion for something. You believe you're hungry because a color has emerged through your senses to believe you to be hungry. It can be done even more intrinsic, more complicated in creating something. Or it can be very simple. Behaviors are what can change how you act around people and how you evolve. But this is something we have not learned. We've used behavior to manipulate things and believing that if there are other people besides us among us, that they are just as bad as us. Of course, I would say that there are good people and there are bad people. Just like there are good beings and bad beings. There are plenty of people on this planet who do care. Who do care a lot to make sure the planet's taken care of, to love other people around us, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of bad people, of course, who desire to manipulate the system, who desire to hurt others, rob others, harm others, etc., etc. And no matter how you flip this, it all leads back to a system being made that caused that person most likely to be who they are today. Maybe not all of them, of course. But it has a great deal of effect when you talk about people who don't have money and maybe they rob a store or whatnot. Or you talk about people who feel a certain emotion or maybe are numb to emotion because of the simple fact that they didn't get that love in their life like they perhaps needed. People who believe, will become anorexic just to believe that's what beauty is because no one ever told them they were truly beautiful. Or perhaps just simply one person said they were ugly. And that negative energy stuck with them throughout their life. In my experience, this has even happened to me where I've had someone say something to me personally that affected me in my life, making me believe I wasn't smart enough. And for years, I worked hard to show and believe I had to prove how smart I was. And I eventually realized, after several years later, I had nothing to prove to anyone. No one. I only had to prove to myself who I truly am. When you are evolving, you are learning how to love people unconditionally, but also tolerate the things perhaps you may not agree on. But realizing that you connect better when you work as one instead of working against each other. We have a constant ideology to separate ourselves from others if they are not from our country, not from our state or province, not from our family. But if we work together instead of stomping on people, you would have a lot more easier flow. And if we were willing to work with each other to grow and advance our not only our technology, but keeping our nature intact and listening to both the smallest person to speak to the largest, you would see a change like no other. So, you have to be willing to see that change in order to evolve it, both unconditionally, both behaviorally. These, of course, are two major parts because of what they play in your life and everyday life of what you do, what you are eating, and so much more. There are many more parts to it. But this is, we'll say, the main part for now. And we'll make a part 2 to this. But to everybody out there, just realize you are the gods, the goddesses, and the creators within. And we'll end it here. But before we end it, for the people who have stayed to the end, and I'll be making another video on this for the people who haven't though. But for the people who stayed to the end, I do apologize. I know the pink elephant in the room conversation has not been up. And the reason is because I've dealt with a lot of moving. And in the process of moving, it's taken a bit of time to make sure to work out everything. As you can see, the gallery is not even up because of that. And I'm working on that right now as we speak. But along with that, there are a lot of things that have been going on one way or another. So to everybody who's been out there, everybody out there, I appreciate you no matter what. And I give thanks for the people who support the channel. I give thanks for the people who feel this helps them, for the people I have helped. But I do want you to realize we will be having it soon up and running. I will be sending a message out when we will start getting right back to the pink elephant room. But for now, due to what I'm doing right now with moving and everything, as you can see, this is a completely different room. It's just going to take a bit of time before we get prepared. But we will be doing the pink elf in the room very soon. I give thanks to everybody who's been out there because simply this, remember always, always, always that you are the gods, the goddesses, and the creators within. So to everybody out there, have a good morning, a great afternoon, and a fantastic evening. To everybody, peace and namaste.